place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Camp McIntosh.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish everybody a happy, and prosperous new year. That is all the information that you need for Camp McIntosh. I was holding off as long as I could because I could hear the national anthem being played in the background. Congratulations to Canada for winning the bronze. I know it's not what you went to Minnesota for. You didn't achieve what you were hoping for, but at the end of the day, you put forth the best effort you could, and at least you're coming home with a bronze as opposed to nothing. Again, we could sit here and talk hockey all night long, but this is a fishing show. So we will leave the sportscasters and those who are a little bit better at that than I to discuss it. But at the end of the day, it has been an incredible holiday season. Hope everybody had a safe and healthy holiday season. I know a lot of folks were fighting the flu, and there was a bunch of stuff running around. There's a flu going around right now that it seems like everybody's getting. So be prepared for that. Again, if you're one to get shots, make sure you're up to date. If you're someone like me that doesn't, fingers crossed that we don't get it. But at the end of the day, as I said, I want to wish everybody a happy new year. The panel is going to be with me very shortly. We, as I said, we had some discussion before going live, so we're a little bit late. Not to mention, as I said, I could hear the national anthem, so I wanted to hold off as long as I could, as long as that anthem is playing, because I certainly don't want to disrespect it, nor the team, nor you Canadians. Hello, it's Monday. It's CFN Live. It's the first one for 2026. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, it is a pleasure to have you with us. It is an honor to have you a part of our community, just like our good buddy, Pete Leduc. Steve, how you doing, buddy? Eve's in the house. Nice to see you. Mitch, always a pleasure to hear from you. The friggin' snow Timmins got. 60 centimeters, dude? Oh, what do you do with 60 centimeters? Holy smokes, that's incredible. Mark's in the house. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I do hope that everybody's been out hard water fishing. It's a must. We had a great chat just recently with the legacy members here at CFN. So we have a bit of a game plan going forward in regards to what it's going to look like for 2026 in CFN. Love to have you folks along. As I said, you are happy to join our many events that I'm going to be announcing very, very soon. Gary, nice to have you along with us as well. I'm going to be reaching out to you and Christian later on because I see a need to fill a big gap when it comes to young budding stars like our good buddy Trevor Barnucz and of course your son Christian. So I will be reaching out to you in the coming days in regards to how we can integrate you into what we're doing and your son. Because as I said, I want to make sure that we're doing our best to promote and support the next generation of our angling community, because I think it's very, 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 very important. Tim, nice to have you along. Richard's in the house. Sorry, there you are, Tim. Yeah, baby. Happy New Year to you as well, buddy. All the best of 20. Absolutely, George. And thanks for all that you do behind the scenes, all of the great segments and news articles that you feed me. As I said, if I was a little bit more prepared, we would certainly be discussing it, but I can promise you, we got a few more of these lives to go. So I do believe we'll get to it. So stay tuned to that. Alexander, nice to have you along as well. Sonia, I loved your post. So we have a contest going on right now. If you've been over to the CFN page, this is what I'm talking about. We want to see your first fish of 2026. And you know what? We want to see it so bad that we're willing to put forth a good prize pack, courtesy of the Made in Canada Tackle Show, that will include a number of great vendors as well as our partners at Shimano. So stay tuned to that. In the meantime, go over to our CFN page right after you're done the live and make sure you post your first pick of your first fish of 2026, and it will qualify you. You will know that you're qualified because you will get a reply from me saying, "Yeah, baby." So yeah, I invite all of you to do so because, as I said, it will be worth your while if you do, and you're the one that's chosen. There is no deadline as of right now because we have, I think, there's 35 fish submitted so far. So we'd like to get that up a little bit higher just to see, you know what it was? When we had our legacy members, and if Steve's listening, I'll say it very quietly. Steve said he needs more content. He needs more pics to do edits. So I thought, hey, I got an idea. Now we've got a whole bunch of stuff. So we appreciate all you CFNers for helping Steve find content because it's difficult. It's tough. We're going to talk about that with the panel. So, Tanya, my point was, thanks so much for your post. Your post was hilarious. I really appreciated that. Great job. Also, when it comes to events, I want to mention, did you forget my name, Scotty? Oh, sorry, Tony. I didn't see your comment. I said, you can say whatever you want, Tony. The floor is yours. I didn't think so. Anyway, I'm just kidding. Lloyd, nice to have you along as well. We are going to get right to some of the announcements. First and foremost, it has not been decided yet. And I know, Lloyd, you're really interested in this, as well as a few of the other SAS Gold members from our CFN Saskatchewan chapter. It is not going to be Kenosee Lake. That's where it was in 2023. And I believe 2024 and 2025. Walter has put together a questionnaire in hopes that folks out of 4 choices could pick the location of the 2026 CFN Ice Jam. 4 lakes to choose from. It looks like it's going to be Pasqua. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Pasqua, Pasqua Lake, just because it's close to Regina. It's close to a lot of the CFNers down in that area. But yeah, it's going to be yet another great event. We are going to be shipping out some Shimano swag and prizes. It is going to be. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it. It is going to be. Did I say it right, Pasqua? I hope I said it right. Tony, yeah, it's a giveaway, buddy. But here's the catch. You got to actually go out and catch a fish, man. We need to see a fish from you, buddy. I need a fish that you caught. First one, 2026. Get her done, baby. Get her done. Should be a great time. As I said, I love seeing you CFNers get together on the ice because really hard water season is where you build community, and no one does it better than CFN. OWA, I tip a hat to OWA. OWA does a great job too. But yeah, I love seeing our CFNers to get together and just having some fun fishing. Good stuff. Awesome stuff. So as I said, that is going to be probably the last weekend of January, as it typically always is. As you can just tell, Rob has indicated that the location has been picked. If you are a Saskatchewan CFN chapter member, please reach out to Walt, reach out to Rob, reach out to Lloyd. The 3 of them will certainly guide you in the right direction and get you to where the event is going to be. But I look forward to seeing all the pics, all the stories, all the fun. Look forward. I love it. I absolutely love when you guys get together. It's so cool. Really, Tony? Really? So is this the new year, new me, Tony? You're actually going to get out and wet a line, buddy? I'm telling you, I would almost drive up to see it happen. That's how excited I am for you to get out fishing. Awesome stuff. Take a pic of all the walleye been catching. Good for you, Rob. Keep it up, buddy. Keep it up. With some of the events that are happening and upcoming that CFN is going to be a part of course, our standalone Made in Canada tackle shows got canceled. Variety of reasons, but lo and behold, at the end of the day, we were pressuring the vendors, and it was tough for them to commit. Totally understood that. We received the message from our vendors to make sure that they understand that we listen to them. So our standalone events, unfortunately, are going to be canceled for 2026. We do have a plan to revisit in 2027. But in the meantime, we've managed to get together with some incredible people at the Ottawa Boat and Outdoorsman Show, as well as the Toronto Sportsman Show. As it is right now, I am thrilled, honored, excited, all the adjectives you can imagine, to say that we are totally booked for the Toronto Sportsman Show, which is happening March 19th to the 22nd. There will be, I believe it's 10 or 11 vendors from our Made in Canada taco show that will be in an area that has been designated for our vendors. And we were able to get a really cool discount for those smaller vendors that make some incredible taco and do some wondrous things for our community. And it's a great way for us to give back. You know what? We're gonna put you guys on a pedestal. We are going to present you to the masses. And from what I was told from Mike, who is the show director, 40,000 people went through that door. So these smaller vendors, I'm telling you, are going to get the experience of a lifetime. And I'm so excited. That is March 19th. Just before that, a month before that, actually, February 19th to the 22nd, we're going to be with Big Jim at the Ottawa Boat and Outdoor Show. Steve and I will be working the casting pond with Big Jim. We got Erica and Serena that are going to be joining us as well. Richard Dunlop's going to be there, and I'm sure there's going to be a host of other CFNers that show up in Ottawa. We look forward to seeing you. That's at the EY Center in Ottawa. So make sure you come by, say hello, tug our shirt, tug our sleeve, tug whatever you wish. We'd love to have you show up and say hello. Of course, as we saw with the video, Horwood Lake Lodge. I'm happy to say Warren has mentioned that we are 2 beds away from being a packed house. So if you are interested in joining us in August for a great week of fishing up at Horwood, we'd love to have you up there. As I said, it will be an honor to see some new CFNers as well as some of the regulars that show up. But August 17th to the 22nd is our CFN event. It's our 8th annual CFN. I can't believe it did 8 years. Holy smokes. Horwood Lake Lodge. If you need any more details, reach out to me or reach out directly to Horwood Lake Lodge. But there's only 2 spots left. Oh, there are only 2 spots left. So make sure you do not delay. September 17th to the 19th, of course, is our North Channel Walleye Open. It is our 2nd annual tournament. Danny and I and the rest of the team are very, very excited about this year because there's going to be a pre-fish aspect of it like there was last year. But more so than that, there's going to be an online tournament that will be designated for that area, for the same area as the tournament, for a multitude of species. So stay tuned to that. Details are to come, but that will be the week before our NCO event, which is the 17th to the 19th. And then the last event, of course, the 23rd to the 27th, we are going to be at Camp McIntosh for our 5th annual CFN retreat. And I know we're about probably maybe a little more than halfway booked there. So there's still lots of time to make a decision, but please reach out to Andre and Tracy. And if you need any more information, reach out to me. So that's our events. We will get to the panel momentarily, and I want to invite you all to stick around and join us because it's going to be an hour or so of good fun. We got Big Jim coming up right after this.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
I'm on time tonight. I'm here.
Buddy, you're not only on time, but you're on point. You always are. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about you, but you have never lost your wit. You have never lost your ability to come back and make people
See the
laugh.
eyebrows there?
Well, listen, Happy New Year, Jim. I know.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to everybody in CFN
Amen.
land out there.
Amen.
Hope everybody had a good time and Santa Claus was good to them.
Absolutely.
I'm in my yearly phase of taking old shirts out of the cupboard that I probably should have thrown out a long time ago or made rags from or whatever. And I wear them until they're dirty. So when this comes off tomorrow night, it'll go in the garbage.
Wow.
New ones.
That's awesome. Well, Jim, as I said, you were busy over the holidays. You're probably out of Valium at this point, but you and Tammy survived all the
No, I didn't have to break the dispenser. I got through again.
Oh, you got through without it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, now that 2025 is over, and what a year it was.
Hey, Erica.
I do have to ask the obvious question because everybody wants to know, what's Big Jim going to be doing in 2026?
I don't know. I'm going to do a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. We just got the paper done.
Nice.
It just went off to the webmaster, so that'll be a weight off everybody's shoulders. We're a couple of days late, but it just seems to be the way it is. We were going to try to squeeze it in between Christmas and New Year's, and with the kids here, it was just a snake show and everything. And Tammy gets a little frantic, once in a while now, and everything else. So it's no, it's all good, but we stay the course and we continue on, and we get at it, Scotty. We're just going to keep going. Hey, Gary.
It's what we've always done, you and I, when we've been doing this. And again, this is now going into our 11th year that you and I have been on the airwaves, if you will. And as I said, you never miss a beat. You always show up. You're always excited to do this. And I can't thank you enough. I know the CFNers would 100% agree with that, and would love to probably share in the comments how appreciative they are of your time. But 2026, as I said, it's going to be an interesting year going forward. And speaking of Ford, where do you see us when it comes to forward-facing sonar? I know there's been a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of moves when it comes to rules and this and that. Where do you see the whole controversial issue of forward-facing sonar?
Like we've talked about this, I think it's just one of those things, Scotty. It's almost it's like the dead horse,
Yeah.
It's been absolutely flogged. It's what it is. People keep looking for ways to change it and move things around and do other things, but it's just what it is. It's just another thing.
100%.
Another thing. I remember when I started fishing. I remember we talked about this about a month ago or something, when they were going to ban paper graphs, the Lowrance X16s. They were going to ban paper graphs. You weren't going to be allowed to fish. Minnesota had that. Apparently, Minnesota was like this far away from doing that.
Wow.
Because it meant that guys could see the fish, the walleyes. This is what they were primarily fishing, like in Minnesota, obviously. Yeah. And, up here, the lake trout guys in Quebec, I mean, they used to come in and they used to buy, when we were all at Fishing Buddies, they used to come in and they'd buy 72 rolls of graph paper. Like it was just ridiculous. It's,
Oh, wow. This is interesting from Gary. Hey, question, Jim. What do you use to crown your Christmas tree?
Our Christmas tree this year was like Tammy came out of the drugstore with it.
What was Charlie Brown in tow with her?
We got this little Christmas tree we've used for a few years now, and we have a table in the living room, the corner there. By the TV, there's a table in there, like an end table thing, and got this. But she found this beautiful little Christmas tree. I think it's 4 feet high. It's about this big around. It came out of a box, and I have the box out there. It goes back in the box. It's perfect. And she had a box of little balls to hang on it and other things. And we have a couple of fishing ornaments that have been kicking around forever and stuff like that. So she popped it out of the box there, and she bent all the arms down, put it in a corner. It's got lights on it, has a plug and a timer and a battery on it, so you don't have to plug it in. Turns itself on when it starts getting dark out, turns itself off. Well, she turns it off before we go to bed. She'll flick the switch on the box, eh? But that was our Christmas, and it was so funny because all the kids came in and they're all, we want a Christmas tree like that.
Wow. That's hilarious.
And it's just a cute little thing that we had in the corner. So it's kind of cool.
I will have to say, Gary, to answer your question, believe it or not, we didn't really do too much. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember what's on the top.
Yeah.
It's gold colored.
Is it one of your trophies?
I heard putting it on because it's a figure of a person. She slid it on. So.
Is it one of your trophies, Jimmy? You sure it's not one of your trophies?
Is there a ball?
Is there one? I think there's one missing back there. I think there's one missing in the back.
Drill the big hole in it and put it up. Oh my good Lord,
Gary! I will have to say, I'm like Jim. Nothing too special. There is something that was significant back when I was a kid. That when my parents moved out of the house and my mom was getting rid of some of the decorations, I wanted to have, and it's just a point. There's nothing special. But it was a keepsake from when I was, knee high to a grasshopper. till the time I moved out of the house. And my mom said, if you want that, it's yours. So it's of no great significance. If you look at it, you'd like, okay, whatever. But to myself and the memories that it spawns, it was cool to put on the tree. So thanks for asking, Gary. Really cool question. What do you put on the top of your tree is probably more appropriate at this point. Jim, you and I talked about this before we went live. I think it's really important. I know Jay and I are going to talk about it in his segment. We can't say it enough. We can't stress it enough because we're starting to see more and more images of what I would consider risky behavior when it comes to ice fishing. And as much as we love to share content and beautiful catches, if you're standing on anything less than 2 inches of ice, it's just not going to happen in CFN land. And I can't stress it.
2 inches of ice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw some guys the other day pulling out a pike, probably like 44 inches, absolute giant.
Mm-hmm.
And when the guy comes over to help his buddy get the pike out, the ice is dry. Not dry, but you know what I mean? It's skip of snow. When he actually gets the pike out of the hole, there's probably 5 inches of water on top of the ice. And it's like this. It's thinking about breaking.
Yeah.
And you see stuff like that. And as I mentioned there, I think it might be this year there's, because it got cooler a little early and everybody thought, it's frozen. They got a bit of a misconception. I mean, the river down here, when you go down to Gananoque, there was guys ice fishing on the bend the other day, and they had a four-wheeler out there. So, there's got to be 4 or 5 inches of ice anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's open water now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been colder since when they were out there.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Like the St. Lawrence was starting to freeze. That big wind we got a week ago. Oof.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is. I know Jay and I are going to talk again about it in his segment, but the irregularities that we're seeing just on Lake Erie, where the Western Basin is completely drying right up because all the water.
I saw that from the.
I've never heard of it happening this often and this frequently.
Yeah, because I saw a guy from over there. He was out walking, and he stops and he's sitting on this. I don't know what it is. It looks like. I thought it was a skidoo that was sunk in, had a funny looking point on the end or whatever. It's obviously something that's gone through ice at one point. And he's sitting on it and he says, like, this happened like 6 weeks ago or something, or a month ago, and it didn't go this far. And he's holding the phone up and looking over his shoulder, and the water is like got to be another 100 yards away. And he says to me, or he says on the thing, and I'm listening to him, and he says, this usually happens once or twice a year. And here's stupid me, never even, I knew it happened. I talk about it here in Kingston with the people all the time saying, oh yeah, the water went down 3 feet. Oh, it's back up. That's what it is. It's the south and north wind. It's the effect it has on Lake Ontario. But I mean, and we've talked about how many times I've had experiences in tournaments where I've gone into a bay and the water's, like the lily pads are there, and you find a bunch of fish in them, say, and you come back on the day of the tournament and you're looking for the pads and you realize that there's a foot of water over them. And that's up in Georgian Bay. And that's that same thing, the water's doing this in the lake. It's just like a tide. But it's
you're right, Sonia. A sesh. That's right. It's a sesh. And,
yeah.
It's quite a phenomenon, and not something that I don't think I've followed it as much as I have in the last, month or so. In Lake Erie, as I said, it's just remarkable. Very cool. That is an angel. So that's Tammy on the top of the tree.
Yes, sir.
Attaboy. Well, listen, George is
Thank you.
As beautiful as that is, George is more concerned about the bottom of the tree and says he is, like, year after year, he has a spot registered and reserved for a Metanium DC.
Yeah, George, it's not gonna happen, buddy. I was under the tree. I was looking and looking.
That's awesome.
I saw a guy the other day post this thing of a guy casting, and you can hear the sound the DC makes, eh? Yeah. And you can make that. And I showed it to my buddy, and I said, "Isn't this cool?" He says, "Needs to oil that reel." And he's a guy that thinks he's up on all the fishing things.
Never mind. Mark, 18 inches of ice. That's awesome, dude. So with that being said, okay, 18 inches of ice. We don't need to worry unless you're driving a transport or a tank. 18-inch of ice can hold a good majority of weight, regardless of that. And regardless of what your opinion is about safe ice, and yes, I know there's no safe ice, but how do you tell someone, Jim, to be safe or to address them for being on ice that is too thin? Do you bother, or at this stage you just
I don't even bother anymore. I used to talk to them. I had that instance on Highway 7 at Silver Lake, right on the highway there. At the time I went out there to ice fish, and I saw some people out. I'd never been out there, and I knew in the summer, late in the fall, I had a day where I saw a bunch of fish on the graph.
Yeah.
And they were in about 25 feet of water, and I thought, it was late in the fall, and I thought it was right at the end of the bass season. And I was out alone. I was freezing to death. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, I wonder if they could be largemouths. Because there's a giant flat in a milfoil bed, and this is where they would go for the winter, just off the edge, right? And I went out there and I got out about a 3/4 ounce jig head. I think it was the heaviest one I had in the boat. I put what did I put on? I think it was a kaolin grub. And I went out, I pitched it way ahead of them, and I brought it back through, and every other cast I caught like a 4 to 8 pound lake trout. Wow. It was a school lake trout. Now these guys were fishing pretty close to it. Yeah. And I thought to myself, they were local. They probably knew about these trout. And I went out, and I was about 300 yards away from them. And I was walking, and I go along and I'm looking, and you know the way when you see the cracks in the ice, you can see how deep the cracks go. Well, I'm watching that and I'm looking at it, and I'm saying to myself, like, wow, I can't believe how thick the ice is here already, but there's next to no snow. And I'm walking, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and I go, and I stop. And I say to myself, there's not much ice here. And I grab the auger and I drill a hole. There's probably like 6 inches of ice now, where I'm thinking there was maybe 12, 14, like 20 steps ago. And I walk another 20 feet just with the auger. And I drill a hole, and there's 3 inches of ice. Like I'm looking and thinking it goes right through right away. So I very quietly pick it up and walk back. And I go back and I say to myself, I couldn't get as far as I wanted to go. So I was going to leave. It was what it was. I was going to try another lake. There was another one close by that I was going to go to. And I says to the guy, I said, your young lad was over by where I was drilling a hole. I said, you guys should be careful because the ice over there is really thin. And I said, it's only, like a few inches, eh? And of course, they're standing on a foot of ice. And he looks at me and he says, yeah, we fish over there too, but we never fell through before.
Oh boy.
That's my favorite saying, eh? Nothing happens until it happens, eh?
Until it happens, 100%. Steve, I just want you to know, dude, I was on 6 inches of ice this past weekend. You don't need 18 inches. I'm bigger than you.
He's a lightweight anyway, a wannabe heavyweight.
Well, compared to me, he's a lightweight, I'll tell you that. Mark says hello. Nice to have you along with us. Terry's in the house. Now, George is making a claim that all M&R fisheries biologists are permanently on your naughty list. That's not true.
Well, look in the mirror. You know why.
Wow.
It's so funny. He's looking for a reel underneath the tree. And I was here the other day, and I said to myself, I said, for like the last 10 years, for some reason I got into collecting the empty boxes from Shimano reels.
Yep.
So I put about 15 of them in a bag, and they were all Metaniums, Curado DCs, Calcuttas, all this kind of stuff. And I went and dropped them off on my buddy's front porch. Eh?
Wow.
And he comes home, and I says to him, did you like the bag I left you? He says, bag? What bag? I said, I left you a bag of empty reel boxes, you dunce. He said, there's nothing there, Jimmy. He said, I saw some marks in the snow though. And I said, I said, are you serious? There's nothing. He goes, no, so somebody stole it.
Oh boy.
Somebody went and took it. So imagine when they got home.
Oh boy.
Bunch of empty boxes.
You're a hero now, pal.
Yeah, he said to me, why don't you drop some full ones off next time you're going by? You never know. I might just.
It reminds me of a cool story, the son, and I digress a little bit, but it's funny. My oldest son decided that at some point during his teenage years that he decided to bring home empties to his dad, to make some money. Dad, I'm bringing home some empties, the guys at the party and whatever. I just thought
I didn't drink any, but I got the bottles.
I said, dude, you want to put a smile on your old man's face? Bring some full ones home. Never mind the empties. Brian said it's not a good time for swimming in January and February, not unless you're in a hot tub, 100%. George, this is awesome news. Holy smokes. North Bay OPP and NMR checked 326 ice shacks so far this year. Wow. On Lake Nipissing, 4-day enforcement resulted in 1 impaired driving charge and 8 provincial offense notices that are issued. In the grand scheme of things, that's not bad.
Yeah, I don't think it.
That's not bad. That is really not bad. George, thanks for sharing that. That's actually really cool to hear.
George, do you know what those offenses would be?
That's a great question.
Like, would it be alcohol? Too many pictures of Big Jim on the ice shack? Like, what?
Well, it's possible because there's still a court date pending that they probably can't announce the charges. They can't because it's all alleged, right? So it's it's not public knowledge quite yet. But those are really good numbers in the grand scheme of things with everything that's going on in the world. You know what? That's not bad. But we can do better, but that's not bad at all. Yes. So again, we've heard a few folks going through the ice, more so in Quebec than anything else. I got to knock on wood when I say this. I think we're getting a little lucky in the province of Ontario that we haven't heard anything catastrophic just yet. We have heard a few folks going through, but at the end of the day, with these cycles of weather, we can't stress it enough. Make sure you're sputting out. Make sure you're doing the right thing. And as I said, Jay and I will talk about some of the safety.
Yeah, it's showing 8 and rain here on Thursday.
And this is the thing. Like, when was the last time in January that we had 8-9 degree weather?
Well, when I was a kid, the January thaw was the thing.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah.
That was a term. You Google Janury thaw, it pops up. Okay,
I suppose. Yeah. I suppose.
You might not remember it, Scotty. You're not quite there. I don't know.
Yes, I still have breast milk on my mouth, Jim. Absolutely. 100%. I just got out of the crib to do this. You're 100% right. So with 2026 and of course the new edition of Just Fishing coming on online, what are some of the things that you're really looking forward to in 2026?
Well, I want to try to spend more time in a boat.
Yeah.
There's a few other things that I'm going to talk about in the future.
Okay.
There's a couple of changes and things that I think are going to be really good for me in the long run, and we'll get to those. But it's I want to move. I really want to get into the house. Well, you know how big it is. It's like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, like I'll go out and I'll say to Tammy, like, there's the glass door there, but I'll go and I'll say to Tammy, thanks for, did you hear me yell back to you? And she'll go, no, like 100 yards away. You know what I mean? Like we could sight a rifle here to my chair, not with me in it, but to it.
Well, look at this. Brian's already offered up a seat in his boat. There's always a seat.
There you go, buddy. Hey, you told me that. You're off the seminar list at the Ottawa show. You told me you were taking me. Get that paper, Tabby. Where's my?
Oh boy! All right. Well, that's the end of our show.
I'm getting grizzly.
Oh, George was able to mention alcohol licenses, insurance, safety, no helmets, and on the B side, fishing regs from the CEO. So not too bad, not too shabby.
That's probably odds and ends there. Some guy without a. Like I was watching somebody the other day. I watched this little clip. Some guys, and they're on Lake of the Woods, and they're towing 2 guys sitting on top of a little caboose at the back.
Okay.
On a rope.
Oh.
And they're filming it for a podcast. So, and they're in Ontario, so you got to have the tow bar thing. There's no more, and you're not allowed to tow somebody on that and they post on Facebook, and they got.
Well, yeah. What do you think is going to happen? And interesting, I saw Jeff Dick's post for Limestone Lures, how he was building a makeshift tow bar for a sled that he bought off.
I messaged him about that and told him. I said, "Hey, did you check on the legalities?" And he said, "Yeah, he's all over it." Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Richard, more fishing with the grandkids.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to seeing you up at Horwood as always, Richard. But yeah, 2026 is going to be an interesting year. My biggest concern is everything else around fishing, with all the distractions and all the nonsense that we're listening to and having to, sift through when it comes to our social media platforms. Dear Lord, folks, if there's anything I can suggest to you, just get out fishing. Never mind this nonsense. Like you're not going to be able to change it. There's no point getting upset about it. Don't have a conversation about it because you never know who you're talking to, and it might just be the wrong person. But
hey, before I forget, when I was looking at my notes on the desk here while we're sitting here, Brian, send me a note what days you're available so I know.
Absolutely.
I'm just putting together the schedule. So we're going to have a lot of musky stuff. We've got Brent Bocek's coming all the way from Hamilton for a couple of days. So we got Lisa and John Anderson. So there's like 4 knock your socks off musky people.
100%.
I got to get to my buddy Mr. Thorpe in Montreal. I want to try to get him to come down on Saturday. He hasn't done anything like this in a long time, and he still continues to put 300-400 fish a year in a boat for his clients. So
incredible. Brian saying all days you need me. Well, that's awesome. And speaking of which, when it comes to the kids casting pond, you are going to have a good contingent of CFNers that are going to be willing to help this year.
We've got a couple of the ladies. We're not going to have Steve Barnett and his wife back. Steve's dad's got some. Steve's dad's getting old, and he needs some help. So Steve, but I replaced Jenna with another Jennifer, Lewis's wife.
Oh, cool! Right on.
So she's going to come. She booked the days off there. She's she manages a restaurant in Kingston, and I guess there's only a couple of managers, and but she got it fixed up and got the days there, well ahead of time. Lewis is going to come too. So he'll be back again, and we've got the ladies there to help us, Erica and Serena. We were talking. They're texting back and forth there. I think it was a week ago Sunday or something. And she suggested the both of them come. So I told them, I said, hey, why don't you come for the weekend? I'll get you a hotel room. So it's awesome, It's they'll come down on Saturday morning and help out, and then stay over and help on Sunday, which is a short day,
Yeah,
it's so nice to see people give back in this sport, and that's something that this sport is certainly not short of. Is people taking time to give back. It's there's always a few people around, but I don't know. From what I see, the sport fishing community seems to be just huge.
It is, and I'll tell you this: some of the most giving people are right here to my right in the comments. Some fantastic mentors, just great examples for our industry to follow. And our good buddy, there's Ray. How you doing, Ray? You're going to take up fishing. Well, I'm going to assume it's going to be off the coast of Cuba. You're not going to be ice fishing. I don't believe you're going to be ice fishing unless you're teasing me. But you know what? I might take you up on that, Ray. In the meantime, buddy, thank you so much for all you did in 2025, and I look forward to spending even more time with you in 2026.
That's a deal.
Hey, but I love having you around, bud, and I know our community does too. So again, thank you so much for all.
Tain't going anywhere.
Attaboy, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Be good, kiddies.
We got Lawrence coming up right after this. There it is, Lawrence Gunther. Happy New Year, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Right on, right on. Was it a great holiday?
Yes.
For you, or were you busy?
It was good. It was good. Busy and good and fun and family and good food, and put on a couple pounds. I got to shed those off now, but that was all good. It's all good.
And like most, I'm sure everybody sort of, puts the diet on hold, decides to, enjoy themselves and, maybe cheat a little bit. And I don't think you're alone. I'm sure all of us did that. I'm sure all of the ones here to my right that are CFNers did the exact same. I looked the part. I've enjoyed a few custards and cakes in my day, but nonetheless, we love you no matter how big you are, how small you are, what color you are, background, the whole gamut. But it's always a pleasure to have you here. And in 2026, I'm sure there is a crap load of stuff that you're looking forward to. But more importantly, the research center. What happens during the winter with the research center?
Oh, we keep tabs on it. We're working out the protocols for offering winter programs up there. That's where we are now. We're going up there every chance we can, pretty much every week, and trying out new programs, test running programs. Okay, what worked, what didn't work, learning from the experience. Because we got to get it so no one gets hurt, right? And everything flows smooth, and everyone knows what they're doing. The team and with the equipment and everything. And one of the things we decided to go with is these things. I don't know if I'm holding that up the right way. No,
spin it around
this way, like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so that's a communication system you can put inside the helmets, and that way you can get two-way communications between up to 15 helmets. Within there, they have built-in speakers and a microphone, and it's good for up to 1.6 kilometers. Because we're finding we're always getting spread out, whatever we're doing when we're moving around on machines, we're getting spread out. And this way we can always communicate with each other and say, hey, slow down when someone broke down back here. Stop the parade.
Holy 1.6 kilometers.
Yeah. So I thought that. And the other thing, the reason we went with a system that can take up to 15 systems. So you're going to have 15 people on the network. And it doesn't require the internet or the cellular. It's all done with a local its own sort of little Wi-Fi system. We're going to have people like me on the back of machines and side by sides and ATVs and stuff like that. People who are blind, and this way, you got the helmet on. There's machines making a lot of noise. This way, the kids who are blind, all the kids can get a little audio description, and we can have some pre-recorded audio files as well, a little bit of music, some description from some knowledge people who record some stories as we're traveling through the forest, on these machines. So little short 5-minute stories that they can listen to as we're traveling along, just about the territory, how that trail was made, when it was made, who lives there, and what animals you're going to see and stuff like that. So you can make it more of an immersive. Everyone says you get the kids in the bush and leave all the tech behind. We're bringing the tech and we're using the tech for education, right? In every step, there's never a moment where, there's moments where you're going to be quiet. There's moments where you're going to be smelling and sniffing and tasting and feeling and writing and photography and fishing, of course, and swimming and paddling and all of that stuff. But there's lots of times when you're moving between, this point and that point, and you got a lot of time, and that's fine. It's good to have quiet time, but that's also valuable time that we can spend educating people. So we're meeting all the time with real strong experts of people who are, multiple generations of spending time in the bush, trapping, hunting, fishing, indigenous people, scientists, and saying, hey, look, give me 5 minutes of what's going on here. So a real short little 5-minute about this river, about the animals that live in this river, animals that live beside this river, the forest, the trees, the history of the logging, the history of the trapping. And we can play that all over these systems. You play it from one phone, and all 15 people can hear the story at the same time. And then you can ask a few questions, give a bit of answers and questions as you're moving around. So this is a good way to spend, time where you're otherwise, sitting on a machine and just looking around, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's valuable time. And these are great educational technologies.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. If you could hold that up again, that box.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if folks are interested in learning.
Is it that one?
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, just push, hold it forward a little bit.
Yeah.
In case people, there you go. The Cardo Pack Talk Edge. Isn't that interesting? Where did you get this? From Amazon?
They have them on Amazon. We went to a store called Royal Direct. It's a family company out of Guelph. They have 5 stores in and around Ontario now. And it's a giant box store where they sell all terrain, snowmobile, ATV parts, and all the gear you need to ride safely, all the different types of helmets and equipment, everything. So it's just a great story. You walk in and you think they started the store out of a barn, and it was just on the internet, online shopping. And then they made the first store, and it was popular. People want to go in and try the stuff on. They want to feel it. They want to test it, before they buy it on the internet. And, especially helmets and things like that, gloves and jackets and things, you got to try it on.
That is so freaking cool. Listen, the technology these days, I'm so far behind the times, but I had no idea we had something that worked like that. So obviously it's an app that you have to download, and then you're able.
No. There's just a little box. I'll show you quick.
That is so freaking cool.
Inside the helmet, there's little flat, sort of like earphones that just go inside the helmet. There's a little boom mic that goes inside the helmet. And then we bought extra helmet kits. So that's an extra helmet kit. So we can put the kits on different size helmets, and then we can use this here device. These are the transponder receivers. The transponder receivers, they go on the back of the helmet, and that's one of them there. And it's a magnet goes on the back of the helmet. It's waterproof, and it just snaps on the back of the helmet. So whatever helmet you snap this on, as long as it's got the earphones and the microphone inside the helmet already, then that helmet will connect to this wirelessly, and you can, so you have different size helmets, so you can always mix and match to make sure everyone's got the right size helmet on. You can switch from the winter helmets to the ATV helmets, side-by-side helmets in the summer, so you don't have to buy all the technology over again, and you don't need to have, like I said, the internet or Wi-Fi or anything like that to use it.
Listen, and I'm sure it's probably been out for years, and you know what, Scotty, thanks for waking up and joining the rest of us here in reality. But I had no idea that kind of technology was available. Very cool. And I'm sure sledders, ATVers, kayakers, I mean, there's a whole gamut of communities that would be able to use that, and would certainly enhance the experience, as Sonia mentioned.
Motorcycle riders, who do
motorcycle riders, absolutely
big with that for sure. And then we also got ourselves a little Starlink satellite dish now. So it's I know, like I'm saying, you're out here off grid. What are you doing, Lawrence? But you know what? People are off grid. They need to communicate. They need to keep the check on their kids. Their parents can check on the kids back and forth, whatever. You need to be able to, doing a little research, you download something, you got to have some internet time at some point. And they had a sale on the mini Starlink satellite package. It was $300. You get the wireless repeater. You can hook up 120 different people to the internet that way. And it's got a little satellite dish and a 75-foot power cord to a 12 volt. And then you can hook it up to any 12 volt battery. And you got the internet right there out of the sky, and it's really fast.
Starlink had a sale too going. I believe it was just going on before Christmas. The mini, and
that's what we got. That's what we got.
What a ridiculous price for some incredible technology, and we use it and have used it up in the north with all our walleye tournaments. And I can attest, Starlink is it's quite a unit, and it works very, very well. That unit that you had for the four wheelers, the helmet unit, what do they regularly retail for?
Well, for one complete system for one helmet, it's anywhere from like $300 to $400.
Okay, so it's somewhat reasonable. It's not not out of reach. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then just for the headset, for the second helmet kit, so you can move it from one helmet to another. So it's not locked on your snowmobile helmets. You can take it off there and put it on the helmets you're using in the summertime. That kit's $100 to rig up another helmet.
Wow.
And then they gave us a little discount, like they give riding clubs and things like that. They have discounts there at the Royal Direct. So they gave us a little discount on that. And they were really, really helpful, really knowledgeable people, and when it comes to all this stuff. So it's, you do your research and then you go in and talk to some knowledgeable people, salespeople, and to get you set up. It was good. It's good. And so we this is part of a grant we got, and I'm sort of spilling the beans here a little bit, but Yamaha Stay Outdoors they offer some grants across Canada, and the idea is not to give you a toy to drive around on. They're not to use the grant. You're not to apply for, I want a side-by-side or an ATV or, outboard or whatever, a jet ski or whatever. They want you to use the money to improve the conditions for people to use the outdoors. So we have a ton of logging roads up where our center is, and they're abandoned logging roads for the most part, but they're very usable, for four-wheelers and side-by-sides. We have some custom-made trailers that can hold 6 kayaks or 6 canoes. And, the trailer weighs maybe 150 pounds, and they're maybe 60 inches wide. So they're good for going behind an ATV or side-by-side down these trails. And, but, there's rivers, there's lakes, and people have their little spots. And what we want to do, and some people are going to hate us for this, but we need to do this anyways. We need to know where are the put in and the takeout spots on these rivers and lakes.
Interesting.
That we want to go visit. And then, so we want to know, how usable are they? Can you back a trailer in? Or can you roll a kayak cart down? Or do you have to carry the canoe or kayak? How far is it? How steep is it? What's the terrain like? Is there a dock? Is there parking? Can you take a 4-wheel drive truck, or do you have to bring a machine, or do you, is it for side-by-sides or just ATVs? So we're going to do a sort of a survey, and then we're going to talk about the usability and accessibility. Like, is there a way for a person in a wheelchair to come in their 4-wheeler and then go on a dock and get into a canoe or boat from a dock? Not with the wheelchair, of course, but things like that. So we want to know where the usability and accessibility. Well, I do a lot of the accessibility advising to different programs: Parks Canada, Nature and Outdoor Tourism Ontario, Discover Northern Ontario, National Capital Commission. I've been doing this for a while around accessibility and sustainability, and so we're doing this for the whole Pontiac region. And so we've been looking around. We're talking to the different snowmobile clubs and the riding clubs and the trail riding clubs and the outfitters, and everyone's got their own little map, right? Everyone's got their own little map. But but the tourism people up there, they get this, and they say, yeah, Lawrence, do this and make it public. And we're going to make it public. And then people who want to come and visit, well, no, they say, hey, I got kayaks. Where can I bring my kayak? Or I got a canoe, or I got a small John boat. Where can I launch my John boat? I want to go fishing on this lake. Where is there a boat launch there? So we're going to do this, and we'll put some signage up, and we'll create some GPS points, and we'll find ways to share this information, make it public. Everyone should know where the freaking boat launch is, right?
Really?
It shouldn't be private. This is Crown land, access to Crown water. It shouldn't be hidden information. It should be made available to people can come from the city and come from around and utilize it and go fishing.
Wow. And this said, no offense, this said by the blind guy. You know what I'm saying? Holy crap. That's amazing. Okay.
So this headset here, I want it because that way when I'm driving around the back of a machine, instead of just listening to the machine going brrr.
Yeah. 100%.
People can tell me, Lawrence, there's a moose right behind you.
Wow. So Sonia's asking, does Lawrence's software revert text in the chat voice? I've never asked you this question.
Oh, the comments?
Yeah.
Not while we're doing this, not on the the program we're using.
Okay.
But if I log in as which I normally do just with my phone, I log in sometimes just on my phone, and then I hear the comments. Yeah, but now when I'm talking to you, I don't hear the comments, which is a good thing, because if you and I are talking, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the comments, and it's going to be too much. It's going to be too much.
Buddy, trust me, they're all positive.
I'm not worried. I don't care.
A watchful eye. Richard Dunlop just messaged me. He said, if Lawrence is looking for helmets, his son-in-law Ryan can get him a discount on summer and winter helmets.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Yeah, that would be fantastic, because, there's many sizes of heads, and the helmets you use in a side-by-side are not the same helmets you use on a ATV. and they're not the same helmets you use obviously on a snowmobile, right? So yeah, we got some needs for sure. You know, the people that have been providing us with machines have been good about giving us some helmets, but you know, there's a many heads, and you know, if 2 large, you might need 3 large or 4 large. You know, there's common sizes. Yeah. Thank you. We'll be in touch. We'll be in touch.
Fantastic. Thanks, Richard, for stepping up and volunteering that. So with 2026, obviously the research center is something that's going to be near and dear to all of our hearts, including yours, especially yours. But is there anything else in 2026 that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going fishing more and and the Bluefish Explorer. And the Bluefish Explorer, that's our accessible tri-tune that we bought. It's a Ranger Riata tri-tune with 24 feet. It can take up to 11 people. We can take up to 6 guests at a time. We think that's a good number, with a captain and a guide. Well, we provide the captain and the guide and the boat and the motor and everything. And then we can take up to 6 people, you know, fishing, and they'll be taking part in doing fishing and learning about fish, scoping around with the sonar, side, down, forward, doing water sampling, using different water testing equipment, and then hearing again, we're bringing the technology on board the boat. So last summer we spent a bit of time taking different experts out on the water. People like Rob Jackson, you know, he's the gar guy, right? Nice. And he brought us out on the Ottawa River, and we filmed him catching gar and showing gar and you know, we just boiled it down to like 4 minutes about gar, how to see gar and where gar are, and there's gar in this river. So just little vignettes that we air over tablets in waterproof cases, and some speakers on some JBL speakers on board. So everyone can hear it and see it at the same time, and then 2 or 3 little questions and little fun facts and little things on the tablet, so that it's not just kids looking and bored or looking at the same crap on shore. You know, when we're putting around, you know, we can say, okay, we're stopping here. Let's hear from this famous scuba diver, and she's gonna talk about diving on the caves right where we are now, 100 feet down. There's caves under in the bottom of the river, and here she's talking about it with some video of swimming in the cave. You know, so just making it really, you know, more sort of enhancing the experience, right? So yeah, they're going to be fishing. Yeah, they're going to be water testing. Yeah, they're going to be holding fish. But they're also going to be hearing from some really amazing people when they're out there on the boat. Just a really compact, very rehearsed, very sort of customized 2-hour experience on the water. And Shimano's generously provided us with some fishing rods. And Scotty Fishing has provided us with some rod holders and tablet holders. And we've just had some great support for rigging out the boat. And that's we're looking forward to that. Right downtown Ottawa, you're going to be fishing right below the cliff where the old Prime Minister's residence is falling down above you, up on top of the cliff there. You're going to be fishing behind Parliament Hill, taking water samples right behind Parliament Hill, see what kind of crap is coming out of that building, testing for that, you know.
So it was funny because you beat me to it to ask the question, but Sonia was asking where this boat was going to be in. And you know what? I have never asked where the SS Gunther is going to be sailing. Now that you've mentioned where it is, we'll keep a lookout for all the protests that are going to come on.
Well, the challenge there is, we found out. So originally we were promised some dock space at the recently renovated River House. It's a 1920s property owned by the NCC, and it's a 4-story, 9,000 square foot building on the water. Yeah. And then in the end, they decided that no outboard boats are allowed to dock there. No boats with motors. Jeez. And I said, well, that's crap. So I got back in touch with the NCC. I said, hey, you guys promised me some dock space. Like, what the hell? And they said, well, try here and try there and try here. So we spent like a few days visiting all of these NCC docks, and none of them are accessible. Either they're like 3 inches off the water and they're wobbly, or they're 4 feet off the water There's nothing that if you're in a pontoon boat, and everyone knows pontoon boats are roll on, roll off kind of boats, right? People love them because if you're in a walker, you're using a crutch, you're in a wheelchair, you roll on, you roll off. It's brilliant. But you need to have something to roll on and roll off of, and that needs to be able to go to some sort of path system without a whole bunch of stairs. So, we couldn't even find a dock. The whole National Capital Commission, not one public dock on the whole river around here in Ottawa, in the city of Ottawa, is accessible. There's one, like we've got the boat anchored right there downtown and at the Aquarium de Hall, the Marina de Hall, just on the Quebec side. We got a nice slip. They gave us a 6-foot wide finger dock to tie up to, so that's beautiful. And that's definitely all accessible. But that's a private marina. And they don't want us to be loading and unloading our guests. Right. They don't have insurance for that. There are other, the other people that keep their boats tied there. They don't want to have that, public cruising in and out of their private dock system. So it's a great place for us to tie up, but we need to have a place to unload and load. And all these tour boats going up and down the river and the canal, not one of them are accessible. And not one of the docks they tie up to are accessible. You would think, and that this day and age, with all the money we spend on fricking around these shorelines, right, all the land we spend on these NCC properties, that they would have a couple spots where you could tie up and load and unload grandma and grandpa and the family, and you can get the family out on the pontoon boat and go for a little toot. That's nothing. It's mind-boggling.
You're 100% right, and anyway, I'm so glad that you're doing this.
Yeah,
it has been long overdue, and it is surprising this day and age that we don't. There was someone that I spoke to probably about, I want to say 8 years ago, who was a paraplegic, and that was his biggest complaint. Started his own charter company and made sure that his vessel was accessible for other folks that were unfortunately in a wheelchair and unable to, traditionally walk onto a boat. So he made it that way, and he himself said that it's just staggering to me that there isn't more accessibility for these boats. But when he did some of the research, insurance is a big part of it, from what I understand. Insurance is the big reason that even though you go to that nth degree to make something accessible, you are still liable if it is not or something happens. And I hate to say this, but that is unfortunately the way of the world right now. And I do, as much as I sympathize with people who try to do that and try to do the right thing, they're caught between a rock and a hard place, because that insurance it's like a noose around your neck.
We went to 6 insurance companies. 3 of them got back to us. 3 of them said no, because we said, look, we deal with this is what we're doing. We have youth of all abilities. And they said, what do you? I said, yeah, well, some might be using a wheelchair, some might be blind. And I said, but they're, all kids. We're not denying access to kids. And they said, oh, you have special needs. You have vulnerable children, right? And then they just walk away. Wow. And finally, thank goodness, we got a broker who out in Nova Scotia worked with a cooperative insurance company and got us the insurance, and then came back just before at some point and said, oh, you're not bringing them on the water, right? I said, no, of course we're not. And so, are you kidding me? Of course we're bringing them on the water. Hello.
That's the guy who used to fish tournaments and back boats in and launch boats. You're talking to the wrong folk.
Oh my God! What part of Bluefish Canada, our whole mission, did you not? Anyway, so whatever. It's okay. They needed to know. We said no. They're going on the water, and we're not doing whitewater rafting because you need all sorts of special certifications for your guides to do that. That's a whole nother kettle of fish. But for what we're doing, and she got back to me and she said, yeah, that's fine. You're good. She said, you'll have people there, right? And I said, we'll always have 2 people, and we have a rescue boat, and so we're good. So, the protocols, you go to Transport Canada site, you read the protocols. It's a complicated, convoluted website, but if you read it 400 times, you get the drift. And
well said. Well, that's what it's not often that your segment is full of positivity. So we got to get that tradition. There's got to be some doom and gloom in there.
Oh my! I got that for you too if you want it.
So I was shared a news article, and I believe it was Richard Dunlop that shared it with me about what's going on out in BC, and of course it revolves around the salmon, and it revolves around the seals.
Oh yeah, we're on it.
That's both on the west and east coast.
Yep.
But it sounds like we might be going down the road of a possible seal hunt, or at least it's going to be lobbied by a special interest group, from what I understand, to revisit the whole idea of a seal hunt, because they were showing some remarkable pictures and video of the numbers that there are of these seals. And unfortunately, the news article summed it all up in conclusions, stating that this is not only unhealthy for the fishery, it's not only unhealthy for our economy, but it's unhealthy for the seals. There's just too many of them, and not enough predators, I guess, to keep their numbers in check.
Which coast are we talking? Because it's
That's
the same on all of them. But I can tell you a little.
East Coast.
Yeah, the East Coast. They say I think there's 5 million harp seals, and there's like 5 or 6 different species of seals out on the East Coast. There was a scientific report that just was released last spring or fall that said that they looked at the seals and they examined the stomach content, and they said the seals are eating about 20 times more fish than cod than are being caught commercially.
Yeah,
and that's a problem. And but Canada is one of 5 countries in the world that has a seal hunting license. You can get a seal hunting license.
Mm-hmm.
And on the East Coast, the limit is for the total catch each year is 400,000 seals, but no one's hunting them because there's nothing. You can't do anything with them. The EU doesn't allow you to. They won't import seal products.
Mm-hmm.
And when they slam the door on our seal hunt, seal oil, seal meat, seal fur. Never, we agreed. Yeah, we don't hunt baby seals anymore. That's off. The seal pup hunt that's over. That ended in 1987. But the adult seals, they don't want any of that coming into the EU either. And we said, well, what about for our Inuit and indigenous hunters? Can you at least give them a chance to export to your country? And they said, okay, but no one wants it. No one wants it. So no one's hunting them. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So, what are we talking? We're going to talk about people who go fishing and carry a gun and shoot them and get paid $10. That's what we used to do, right? And last year up until the 1970s, it's illegal to kill, marine mammals in the United States. It's illegal to kill them on the west coast of Canada unless you're an indigenous hunter. And but there's still this hunt. If you can get a license, you can hunt them on the East Coast. But there's some issues there, and we're looking into that. We're talking to people and gathering information on that. It's interesting. We're just going to stay tuned, follow the news, the Bluefish news. There's going to be some interesting conversations popping up on that really soon with some interesting.
Luke actually made a recommendation of your first guest. I think this is a great idea, Bridget Barnucz.
Luke, can you communicate with her? Like, I don't know if you got some way of communicating with her. Poor lady died last week, I think.
Yes, I know. We shouldn't be laughing. Yeah. It's disrespectful, but at the end of the day, Luke, you said it, so you own it, buddy. It's all yours.
Yeah. Let me know what she says, Luke.
Exactly. Let me know how many years you get. No, I'm just kidding. Well, you know what? With obviously the research center and this wonderful experience that you're going to be providing folks with special needs.
All folks.
I think it's wonderful that we have this aspect of our CFN community. And Lawrence, again, as always, I can't thank you enough for all you do. Is there anything that our community, like we've offered up helmets, is there anything else our community could do to sort of spread the word or help support and promote this?
Stay tuned for sure. The podcast, the newsletters, just share those around when you see them. And if you think it's interesting, share it around and let me know what people are saying, comment wise or people, especially people that we should be talking to. Well, I've been, working very closely with the Public Fishery Alliance on the West Coast, with the British Columbia Recreational Fishing Association on the West Coast. Their executive, we're in communications. They're having a open house they want me to come to. And I said, well, can I listen? They wanted me to be on the panel. I said, no, I don't, I'd like to listen. So they're going to web stream, and I'm going to share with you guys the Facebook link stream, and you can follow that too and listen to all the panelists and the questions from the audience. It gets raucous, man. It gets raucous. There's some weird ideas being thrown around too. I tell you, it's something else. But a lot of people that feel like they're being made the sacrificial lambs, that they're being brought to the top of the mountain and being sacrificed to the killer whale god, and they feel like maybe it's a bit of a show, that they're the only ones being forced to take the sacrifice, and no one else has given up anything. But it looks good. Some government's doing something, and it's going to help the killer whales. And then they can look like, hey, we did our good environmental deed of the day, but there's a lot of strong feelings, right, about those whales and the belugas there in Marineland, and oh my goodness, we are a very, very conflicted country when it comes to seals and whales.
Amen.
But read the article in the newsletter that's going to come out, and you can there's going to be a few more details and thought on that.
Right on, buddy. Well, listen, I look forward to it, as all of us do. Again, thanks so much for all you do and all your time and all your efforts that you're putting forth. As I said, you're making a difference in people's lives, and we appreciate you, pal.
No, thanks, man. And I do you, Scotty. And thanks everyone for taking a few minutes to listen to me rant on Monday nights. I appreciate it.
Well, again, Happy New Year, dude. And have yourself a great week. And we look forward to seeing and hearing from you next Monday, pal.
Sounds good.
All the best, Lawrence.
Thanks,
we
man.
got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
The fear of failure is failure itself. The world of science rewards the ones who are willing to try and fail. Because without the courage to embrace failure, ideas remain ideas. But with that courage to fail and to learn, ideas can change the world.
Now, this is the unfortunate thing, and this is what I feel. Oh, there he is. There he is. Good job, Jay.
Hey.
Right in the last. This is the part I feel so bad for you, is because you're so late in the hour, and sometimes we go a little bit longer, sometimes not. You have to jump like you just did in order to make it. And again, I can't thank you enough.
Oh no, it's all good, man.
Happy
I'm
New Year.
what I do during the show is I actually listen to it on my phone, and I go and like get ready for work and go pack my lunch and get everything ready, because I'm usually on the road by around 5 a.m. most mornings. So
Wow.
Yeah.
What are you busy at 5 a.m. now doing? What do you have to do? What's
Dude, it's all about dodging traffic. That's all it
Yeah.
is. That's all it is. So we drive into Burlington, so we usually leave around 5:30, so we get there around 6:30, 6:45, and then leave around 3, and it's all
Right.
about just dodging that traffic, right? So yeah, so like it's funny, man, like, but you see those reels and those memes about guys who like getting up early to go fishing and guys who drag their butts going to work.
Yeah.
I'm a dragger at 5 a.m. on a work day.
Now, you're not like some of us that secretly give the finger to somebody that drives by us on a Friday towing a boat or a kayak or anything like that.
Oh, dude, where we live, right? Because not so much this time of year, but in the fall, especially when I'm driving to work and it's getting darker, right? So you're driving, let's say October, November, Lake Erie's still on fire, and I'm driving towards Brantford from Delhi, and it's like, let's say it's 6 o'clock. It's not light out till 6:30, and I'm just boats are all heading the other way, and I'm just, and even I usually I'm carpooling with Heather because we work in the same building, and she just looks at me, and I'm just like head down, just right. don't even look at the boats going. They're all going to Lake Erie, and I'm going to Burlington to go to work. That's how it goes.
Wow. Great holiday. Did you get some good family time, and did you get out on the hard water at all while you were off?
No hard water yet. I was saying before the show, well, holiday time was great. You know what? We had some time off. I took a few vacation days, spent most of it just with family. Like I'm so busy through the year that it's nice to get caught up with everyone and spend time with family. And I talked to you a little bit about it on the last show that I missed. My grandmother is in the hospital. She's fine. But she's had a hip replacement, and so we've been taking turns going to visit her.
That's right.
And she's feisty. I'll say this. So we call her Oma, and Oma is 91, going to be 92, and she keeps trying to get out of bed with a hip replacement, and it's not good. So, to be honest, the first week was a little tough. She was in Brantford, and I spent a couple nights in the same room as her, like crashed out, like security guard, like keeping her in bed. I'm like, you got to stay in bed. You got to stay in bed. So, because she kept trying to break out. I was like, I'm gonna bake her a cake or something. You know what I mean? And sneak a file in there. But she's getting better. It's just these things are a process, and the older you are, the longer it takes. And so we've been busy. We've been busy with that. And but yeah, Christmas was great. Spent time around here with the family. And geez, Trevor's busy at work, and he's getting busy to finishing up the semester and getting some good grades to finish up his record at high school. So, and we just haven't had a day to like do a long road trip to go hit the ice. So usually we'd have done a trip or two up to Simcoe or Cooch by now. We haven't done that yet. But the local ice there are a couple guys who have been out, and it's shaping up really well right now. I think the thaw this week won't really hurt it too much because we got some cold weather coming the week after. So, yeah, and we have a lot of plans to fish local ice this year. We got on some great patterns last year on pike and tip ups, and some good perch patterns. And so we're just waiting for the conditions to improve, which will happen soon. We did try a little bit of steelheading before, like actually we went out on the 31st, which was the last day for local trout. And conditions I thought they were better. We didn't get any fish. The water was okay. We had some rain, that we had a bit of rain in the last week. And but the local steelheading it just wasn't a great fall. It was okay. I'm not going to complain about fishing, but it wasn't as good as it has been. We just didn't get a lot of rain this fall. Our levels came up, but not enough. Just not enough. And I think we're still rebounding from that drought we had in the summer. So yeah, not
Good.
too much blood were caught, but that's how it goes.
I have to ask, when it comes to weather too, is it just me, or like ever since you mentioned this anomaly that happens with Lake Erie and these wind events, we have seen more sessions. They're called sessions.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or has there been more this year than any other year before?
It's just, yeah, I think it's more frequent now because we're getting these intense windstorms. Like wind is what drives this pattern. And I said before, like when you look at, and Jim talked about this in his segment briefly when you brought it up, we will see water move in and out of these places all the time. So no matter what lake you're on, wind will push water around. The bigger the lake, the more fetch, so the more distance wind can travel over the lake, and the greater the sesh that you'll get. And so in some lakes, you might only see a foot or two, drop or rise, right? Because it's a bathtub. So what you saw was in the west end of Lake Erie, like the Western Basin, dried right up, but then Buffalo had a record water, right? So the water just got pushed from the west end to the east end of the lake. No matter what lake you're on, you could pick the smallest lake you want. When the lake has enough blowing across it, you will get water moving back and forth. But it takes a big lake to get that amount of movement to where you're going from basically from inches to feet of water. So if you think about it, Lake Erie, okay, it went down 7 feet. That's a lot. But when there's that much fetch across the lake, like you're talking hundreds of kilometers of wind, we see it in lakes. And if everyone pays attention, especially for those on the call that do a lot of shallow largemouth fishing, or when you're in the back of these bays and coves, especially on some of the bigger lakes, when you get a good wind blowing, you will see basically what will happen is these bays they won't dry out, but it'll be shallower than it was. It might drop a foot or a foot and a half, and you don't really notice those drops. Like if you and I are on the same lake, but we're out on the main lake fishing a shoal for walleye or for smallmouth, we won't notice the drop. If we're in 20 feet of water and the water drops a foot, we don't notice it. It's not. It could just be from the waves. You don't even realize, but actually the water is moving across the lake, and that's what happens. It happens all the time. We just don't realize it. But I agree with you. It's happening more frequently, and I think what it is we're just getting more and more of these big storms, these big wind events. The one we had was. And this kind of comes back to fishing, and we talk about barometric pressure on the show sometimes. And so what happened was we had a warm up, and then we got into this freezing rainstorm that came across Ontario. And so it warmed up, got freezing rain, and then the next day we got this big wind event.
Yep.
And it was a flash freeze the next night, right?
Yep.
So, and what all this happened was there was a major change from high pressure to low pressure and then back up to high pressure. It was actually, there was such a significant drop in low pressure. Meteorologists call it a weather bomb, where you get a drop in 24 millibars over 24 hours. And that's exactly what we got. The bigger the change in pressure that you'll see over time or in a short time, that's what causes wind. Wind is all driven by pressure. And so as you get changes in pressure, you get more wind. And basically the wind is pushing fronts in and bringing fronts out of your area. And that's what causes it. And we don't notice it as much. Now, I was thinking about this though, Scotty, when we go ice fishing, we're out on the lake in these winds. Like some of these wind events I've ice fished in, and yeah, it's windy and you strap everything down, but I would not be on the lake if it was open water in that wind. There's no way. But I can do it when I'm ice fishing. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
And that's what ice fishing really allows us to do, is when it's safe, boy, we can really access some really cool water that we wouldn't be able to access under other conditions, right? Except for when it's frozen. And I think that's why people love ice fishing, is for the guys and girls that can't get onto big water because they don't even have a boat maybe, but they can get out there on the ice because you don't need an expensive boat to go out several miles. You can just, as long as the conditions are good, you can walk out there if you wanted to, right?
100%. And Sonia mentioned that in her comments, how many days she was unfortunately blown off Lake Ontario because of wind.
Yeah.
And ice fishing, it provides that opportunity that you don't normally get when it's soft water. An interesting, it was a news article, well, it was a reel of some sort or a video on Facebook. Gentleman was down in the West End, and he was walking around on the lake bottom, and his what do they call it, a POV or public service announcement. He was mentioning that all that muck, like you have lake bottom and then you have the sediment muck, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how dangerous it is. So when your kids jump in off the wharf or off the dock or whatever, just, pay heed to the fact that they're jumping into this muck, and it could hold them and then, it could possibly drown them. That was his angle. My question to you, as I watched him, sort of trounce around in all this mud, is that sediment good, or is a sesh a great opportunity to get out, some excavators, some dump trucks, and start clearing some of that stuff away?
No, the sediment's good. Like, you do get a lot of, well, there's a few different ways of looking at it. So in some of those areas, like when you're in these harbors, you may not want to touch that sediment, right? So some of these harbors are full of soft sediments that are probably full of contaminants because of probably not from recent stuff, but probably from decades, if not centuries of use in those areas, right? So we think about Hamilton Harbor and large harbors like that, where we don't want to touch the sediments. We have studies that show that we should just leave the sediments where they are. But for the most part, sediments are part of the natural process, right? So sediments, soft sediments, provide habitat for things to grow, like vegetation. So if we don't have soft sediments, so a lot of the plants, the aquatic macrophytes that provide habitat for juvenile fish, for example, even for spawning fish, like some fish like yellow perch and northern pike, their eggs will adhere or stick to the plants. So those soft sediments allow plants to grow. If we don't have those sediments, those plants don't grow. At the same time, sand and gravel provide spawning areas for different species of fish, right? So really all these sediments serve a purpose, and these fish have all evolved or adapted to the different sediments and also the different things that grow in those sediments, like the different vegetation types. Some vegetation, like some plants will grow in sandier sediment. Some will grow in like the basically loon shit, right? The stuff that we're talking about, where if you fall into, you're stuck.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever like the yellow water lilies, right? The yellow water lilies, which are the big horseshoe-shaped leaves with the yellow lilies on them, you'll hear it called spatterdock. Like their roots are like big tuberous roots, like as big around as my arm.
Mm-hmm.
And what that allows is they actually grow within that sediment. That's how they actually survive. So without those soft sediments, we wouldn't have water lilies for just one. That's what they grow in. They need those soft sediments to grow. So sediments serve a purpose, but there is a lot of sedimentation that happens because of human disturbance. And we do see that, like when you get in some harbors. If I think about like around the Golden Horseshoe, where you get a lot of urban development and a lot of sediments lost in those rivers, and those rivers get filled with sediment. What's good once in a while, and some other biologists will support me on this, sometimes you need a good cleansing of the streams, because with the drought conditions that we had, sediments, even in natural systems, will kind of build up over time. And we need a good rain event to clean those systems out, to expose that gravel, to expose that sand that is just covered over with fine sediment. And the fine sediment is not good for spawning trout, as an example, or spawning walleye, right? So
Sonia, you bring up a great point. When I was watching him walk around, I kind of thought the same thing. How is it that he's not sinking into the lake bottom? And then I realized, well, you know what? It is -4 out. So perhaps, some of it is frozen, but the loon shit, as Jay mentioned, certainly wasn't. And he was able to, get right down almost to his knee in some of this stuff, just to show folks that be very careful when you have kids or whatever, and there's waves and you don't want to get stuck in this, because it's very easy that you can.
I think some of the sediments that they were walking on, like there's a lot of sand in Lake Erie. Sand is probably the most abundant sediment type in Lake Erie. And in fact, if they're in less than 7 feet of water, which is where they were, like they were in pretty shallow water, the areas that were exposed, that's mostly going to be sand, because these areas are repeatedly exposed to wind events and wave events. And the fine sediments don't deposit there. They get distributed around. They might deposit, like in a back bay or something, but those areas were open areas that is probably mostly sand bottom, probably a softer sand. But I know even around here, most of the shoreline is sand, and it's almost like beach sand all around Lake Erie. And that's what drives a lot of the processes. In fact, you talk about excavation, you'll hear there's actually a work project that's done by some municipalities where they actually move sand where it's eroding, and they instead of putting concrete there, they put sand there. Because if anyone knows anything about these sort of what they call coastal processes, and we talk about coastal, it sounds like ocean, but we also talk about Great Lakes as coasts. And you will get these areas of sand that move, and we've tried, as humans, we have tried to stabilize these areas with concrete, and it does not work. It's just too powerful. So how we get around that is areas that are constantly eroding, we will move sand from one location to another to feed it or seed it, and that keeps the processes from eroding infrastructure, is by feeding it sand.
And I'll tell you, when you talk about wave action, holy crap, they had storm chasers around the east end of Lake Erie as well as Lake Superior, showing some of the 20, 25, and 30-foot waves that were crashing into some of the break walls. Like, it was just incredible. The Great Lakes were angry, my friend.
It really makes you think about just how impressive they are, and the type of damage that they can do. And you think about, historically, like, not even like Edmund Fitzgerald stuff, but before the Edmund Fitzgerald, you go back 100 years or even 50 years, some of the ships before we had freighters, we had these smaller ships that were regularly carrying cargo. Geez, you go back far enough, before we had transports and even railroads, ships were carrying cargo through the Great Lakes. And there's all kinds of shipwrecks around the Great Lakes, and you can see why. It is an impressive place. It is. It really is. And I love a good weather event. Like, I love, even down here, man, we had ice storms and wind storms, and we actually lost power we were out power last week for 24 hours. We had 24-hour power loss here, and we managed. We're kind of used to it. Our little town, it's a running joke that we lose power once a month in Delhi, usually on a Friday. And there's something with our local hydro, and I'm not knocking the hydro guys, man. They do a good job. It's impressive how they can pull it off. But most of the hydro losses that we get are from these massive wind events.
Yeah.
And it's usually more and more common. And of course, we're only 10, as straight as a crow flies, we're probably 10 or 15 kilometers from Lake Erie. And so the closer you are to the lake, the more intense those winds happen. And so we don't even get it as bad here. Places like Port Dover, Turkey Point, and Long Point. Long Point's a scary place, actually, because if anyone's been down to Long Point, there's only one road in over the marsh to get into Long Point. And if that bridge ever washed out, now they just replaced it, but if it ever was destroyed, the town of Long Point would be cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And bridges don't fix themselves overnight.
Nope.
No. So and you see these storms happening, and I don't want to bring up climate change, but listen, these are happening more often, man. Things are changing out there. They really are.
Yeah. And really, at the end of the day, nothing else explains it. So it has to be considered, whether you agree with it or not, or believe it or not. It is something that you have to think about, because you're 100% right. And so what you're saying is there's some cheap property available on Long Point?
No, it's not getting cheaper.
Not yet. Dang,
it's too beautiful, man. I'll tell people, I've often challenged people to, like, I think that I'm not a beach guy. I'm not a beach guy at all. But I'll tell you, when people want to go to a beach, I tell them, come to Long Point. It is the nicest sand beach, and it's the longest sand beach in Ontario, for sure. It is massive. And now it gets busy. Part of the reason why I don't like beaches is it's too many people. But I'll tell you, man, it is an impressive place to go to in the summertime if you just want to hang out on a white sand beach. But at the same time, that's there because of these crazy wind events. Yep. And back to ice fishing, wind is not your friend when it comes to ice fishing. And it's not so much of getting your stuff blown away. Wind can destroy ice fast. And that's something that I think around here, what's probably been the biggest driver for limiting the ice fishing like on Lake Erie that we've had, is because the ice just gets broken up. You can have the coldest weather, but if that lake doesn't cap and you get a good 6 or 8 inches of ice, it's just going to break up over and over and over again, right? And I, even for a lot of my friends and that fish Quinty and those places like that have a lot of current, and you add wind to it, man, you can have pretty thick ice and it can be gone pretty fast too. That's what makes it dangerous.
I'll be honest with you, Jay. There are times when I have to sort of stop in my tracks and say, I cannot believe back in my, late teenage years, 20s, that I fished the Bay of Quinte in winter. When you see some of what's going on now in that area, you were young and stupid. And I'll tell you, I would have a hard time getting back out on the Bay of Quinte these days. And that has a lot to do with age and mobility and a whole bunch of other things. But a lot of it is just absolute good old fashioned fear.
And I think that's kind of like, you know what, man, I used to go ice fishing a lot by myself, and not even as a young guy. Like I'm talking even 10 years ago. I was, in my late 30s, early 40s. And as conditions are now, like I kind of don't like going by myself anymore. Even on small lakes. It's I'd rather go with somebody else if something was to happen. That's just me, because I find that the conditions are just not as consistent as they used to be in most places. And so, and I've had a couple of, I'm not going to say like dangerous events, but I've had some events that have left me kind of shaken up a bit. And I think it's best to fish with someone else, or at least around other people, because, and I, that's kind of one of the reasons why I stopped doing, or I don't stop, but I'm not as quick to do massive road trips now, because the weather's it's so inconsistent that I would not want to drive all the way to Quinte at like 3 a.m. and then get there and then have to figure my way around, the ice when I get there. That's just not, for some guys, it's fine. But for me, because I don't trust, as time goes on, I trust that place less and less. And and if I lived close there, I'd become very familiar with it, and I would, but when you're driving as far as I am, I'm kind of on my going in there blind. And I actually prefer, if I'm going to go, I prefer going there like the day before, getting there midday and figuring things out that first afternoon, and then stay overnight in Belleville or Trenton, and then get up early the next day and make a run at it for the whole day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I've spent that first day, I've checked the ice, I'm happy where I am, so that when I'm walking out the next morning at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. with my headlamp and my spud and my picks and all my safety gear, but I've already spudded it, I've already checked it the day before, and the weather's been the same. Does that make sense?
100%.
Like so I almost don't like going now. I don't mind the drive for a day trip to Quinte, doesn't bother me, but I almost prefer going overnight, checking it the day before, not even really fishing, just figuring out my plan for that next day when I hit it hard best I can, right?
Yeah,
and it's a lot of that safety. It has nothing to do with catching fish.
Speaking of safety, and I know we talked about it before we went live, I'd like to say, knock on wood, I think we're getting lucky. I'm seeing too many videos. I shouldn't say lots. I'm seeing too many videos of folks on ice that is, in my opinion, questionable. And I'm sure in others it is too. But without browbeating, the masses and getting on people in the chat here that are watching, because it's not you that we're worried about, because you guys follow the rules and you're completely ethical and do the right thing. But when it comes to safety, our good buddy Canadian Cowboy Outdoors, he mentioned 5 of the most important tools to bring out on the ice. And I'm going to ask, and this is not in order of importance, but I'm going to get you to tell us what is the most important out of these 5 that you must have first and then last.
Oof. Okay, so we're gonna do a ranking. I'm gonna do this 1 to 5. My 1 to 5 here, and I think people might be surprised what I pick. I'm gonna say float suit's number 1, because it's going to keep you warm, and if you go through, you have that to keep you. I'm gonna say your spud bar is probably number 2, and it's close, but you need no, spud bar is number 1, then float suit, because I need to know if I'm walking on. So we've got spud bar, we got float suit, and I'm going to tell you right now, number 3 is the whistle.
Really?
Yeah, because if something happens to me, like I can probably get out without picks, and I could probably walk around without crampons, but good luck somebody finding you when you're half frozen trying to yell for help. That whistle, you can hear that whistle for miles. And I'll give you, it's not an ice fishing story, but it's one of my favorite stories about, it worked out well. And it's a good story to remind people. We were fishing up in northern Quebec, walleye fishing. And it was in mid-September, and it was snowing out. Like we had sleet, like it was like 4 degrees, but it was sleeting. And we're all coming back to the camp. We had 5 boats out, 2 guys per boat. And my job at the camp in those days was all I did was clean walleye, dude. I didn't cook. I didn't gas up boats. because all the guys that I went with hated cleaning fish. So that was my job. I didn't have to, dude, they would bring me wine and beer while I cleaned the fish in the fish hut. Like it was honestly, dude, if all you had to do for 7 days of walleye fishing was clean fish. Now, I was cleaning the fish sometimes an hour to hour and a half a day, but that's all my only job. I didn't mind. I didn't have to cook, didn't have to clean, didn't have to gas up. So there I am. I'm cleaning fish, and I clean all the fish, bring all the fillets up in the cabin, and we have the skin on most of them because we're taking them home, and we got the freezer, and we're all sitting by the wood stove. We're having a drink, and we're doing a head count. We're like, and it just got dark out. We are doing a head count. We're like, where's Larry and Mike? We don't know where Larry and Mike are, and we're sitting there, and a couple guys went out to the outside the cabin. I think they went outside for a smoke, and they came back in. And that now half these guys are French, and like they don't speak any English, just French. And so my friend Gibby, who owns the cabin, he's fluent, both languages. So I said to Gibby, I go, because these guys are missing. So right away I go into like my work mode, like I'm in work mode now. And I go, what's going on? He goes, they can hear a bird. I go, a bird? Yeah, they can hear a bird outside, but very faintly. So I walked from the cabin to the edge of the beach, and then there's like stairs going down. These Northern Ontario camps with the big stairs?
Yes.
So I'm standing on the top of the hill with the stairs going down. It's dark now, and I'm just sitting there, and I cut my ears. If anyone ever wants to hear a sound, do this. This works. And I listen, and I could hear a faint whistle, like an actual whistle. Okay. So the last time we saw Mike and Larry, they were by the rock, and the rock was this big outcrop about 1 kilometer straight out from the camp. So I said, that's all we know where they were. So we got to go to the rock. So Gibby's it's his camp, and he has, he's got generators, he's got everything there, satellite phone. So we grab a big spotlight. I got my headlamp on. I already got my big Gore-Tex suit, my PFD. I'm like, let's go. We head out right for the rock, and we get zooming. And remember, it's 3 degrees out. It's sleeting, it's snowing, it's raining. And we get out there, and sure enough, we get to the rock, and there's Larry. Now Larry's a big dude, like big guy. Like I'm talking, he's 400 pounds. Larry.
Oh.
And he's on the rock, and he's sitting there, and the motor wouldn't start. And anyways, Mike, his partner, Mike's fantastic guy. Very resourceful, can fix anything. Mike couldn't get the motor started. So we went around the backside of the rock where it was calm, got them in, and like they were cold because it was like 15 degrees or 18 degrees and sunny during the day. But then that storm came in, got them back to the cabin, got them warmed up, and we fixed the motor the next day. But that whistle allowed us to find them, that whistle. And so if I want to give anyone a good tip, especially if you're going to ice fish on big water, in your sled, take your boat kit, your little orange boat kit, throw it in your sled. You got a whistle, you got a throw rope, you got a flashlight, and you got a cup if you need it for something, right? Take your boat kit, throw it in your sled. It takes up almost no space. That throw line is going to help you rescue somebody someday too, right? So back to the picture. Number 3 is a whistle. Number 4 is the picks, and number 5 is the cleats, the crampons. Those are my choices in that list.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the whistle is pretty clutch. I'm going to tell you, you should have that whistle, and if you can, like snap it to your suit. And I love how I love the picks that he's wearing there, where he's got the picks right here.
Yep.
Clam makes them like that. And Rapala used to make them where they had on a long string.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like those ones. They get in the way. They get caught on stuff. I like the ones right by my neck, and those ones actually float too. They float if you drop them in. But yeah, those are my favorite style of picks right there. But yeah, I challenge everyone to get a whistle.
Whistle,
sure.
But more importantly, and I think that's a great tip that you bring up, and I never even thought of it, but it makes sense. Make sure you bring your boat kit, your safety kit that you're supposed to by law have on your boat with you when you're ice fishing. That's brilliant.
Just bring it. You already got it. It's sitting in your garage doing nothing. Like especially if you're one of those guys, you got a skidoo, you're towing a big 2-man shelter with all your buddies, just throw your boat kit in there, man. Yeah, and that orange jug is waterproof. So, you know, I've put like throw a couple Bic lighters in there. You know, you can throw stuff in that watertight container and it takes care of yourself. Yeah, lots. Awesome. And a first aid kit. Actually, that's one big thing too that's not on there. Is I always bring a small first aid kit when I'm out on the water, and not just on the boat, ice fishing too, man. How many guys have like had hooks in the hand, been sliced up with northern pike, you know, things like that, or even a walleye coming through the hole. Like I've grabbed walleye that I shouldn't grab, and I've got puncture wounds. Have a first aid kit, man. Like you can have some Kleenex and some electrical tape that works too in a pinch, but have a first aid kit. Why not? You should.
They're sharing some other good tips. Terry's saying a GPS on your snow machine is a must. Yep, I agree with that. George is complaining that the load is too heavy, and he's got too many DC reels that he can't fit all that wonderful safety stuff in. Absolutely. I saw them on coil lanyard and carabiner that you can hook onto. I don't like those long string. Yeah, no, 100%. And really, at the end of the day, too, Jay. Sorry, before you go on, with them around your neck, like let's be honest, when you fall in the water, like where are you grabbing exactly?
That's why. When they first came out with the ones, like, it was clam that I saw. They're blue, right? And when I saw those, even though I had the ones with the string and they were black and red and they go together, when I saw that they made floating ones that go together around your neck, I'm like, that's a slick idea. And now I have like in the garage, I have 2 buckets, and I have like 2 small buckets, and in the buckets are extra cleats and extra picks. So anyone who comes out with me, you're getting a set of cleats and a set of picks. Everyone, especially when I'm bringing out, you know, Trevor's buddies that don't go ice fishing much, they're all getting a set of picks and a set of cleats, and everyone gets a safety lesson before we go out. Dude, it's like you're going to summer camp with me. If you've never been ice fishing before, you're going to get a little, like, especially when we're jumping, hate to say it, but when we're walking over pressure cracks and things like that, I always tell everyone exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it. And you do exactly what I say every single time. Trevor will tell you, I'm a bit of as fun as I am, things can go ugly on the ice fast.
Amen.
You know, especially when the places we go, I love fishing big water, and it's like the worst place to go for safety. It truly is, man. Yep. It really is. So headlamps, always have a headlamp, man. Yep. Headlamps are clutch. And I held this up, little power bank. Yeah. If you're, and this goes back to Terry's point, a lot of guys using their phone as a GPS, that's fine, as long as you don't drop your phone down the hole. But if your phone gets too cold, it will shut down. And then to reheat it, it might not start again. But a lot of times, if you can get it warmed up on your body and then plug it into a power bank, it'll start up again. So a little power bank to keep your electronics charged, that's pretty important as well. But you can't beat a handheld GPS, because even though they're not as fancy as your Navionics app on your phone, man, they are helpful. They will get you back safely.
Amen. Jay, as always, dude, you fly through your hour. Lots of great information. But before I let you go, what is the one thing that you're looking forward to when it comes to 2026?
Oof. 2026. I guess it'll have to be I got to catch a big bass on a glide bait like my son did last year. Yeah. Like as proud as I am, I do mean this with all sincerity. I am proud of that kid for catching that fish. He put his time in and figured that pattern out. He put more time in doing that than I did. But now it's like, okay, I need to catch one like that. I've never caught one that big. I've caught some 6-pounders in my life, not one over 7. But just it's not so much the weight of the fish, it's how he did it and how he figured it out. And so it's probably the epitome of, now I'm learning from him as much as he's learned from me in that situation. So that's this year. I want to throw a big glide bait. Love it. Yeah, George, you stop sending expensive ideas to my son, because he is really sharing expensive Instagram posts with me about certain glide baits that are out there. I'm trying to keep them so you can still go to school and afford those. Actually, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I don't know if I have it here.
Yes,
I might have moved it. Anyways, so and Trevor's going to Trent next year. So,
wow, right on.
Yeah. So he's decided to go to Trent. You know what sold him on it, man? He got up to the Trent, like he's familiar with Peterborough because we have a lot of friends there, and that's kind of the second home for us. And but he went to Fleming, loved the tour at Fleming College, Scotty, loved it, thought it was great. He met some of the instructors that some of them I know, and they honestly, everywhere you go in there, it's just fish and wildlife, right? Just mounts and all kinds of cool stuff. But he got up to Trent, and he got up in the library at the top floor, and his mom Heather was showing him her favorite spot when she was there, where she would study and sit in the cubicle. And the cubicle is right overlooking the Otonabee River up on the 4th floor of the library. And he said he called me from there, and he's like, Dad, I can see a milfoil bed right below where I'm studying. And there was, I guess, bluegill around the milfoil, and that's what sold him on it. So that was a couple months ago, but now he's accepted. He's turned his acceptance in. He's going to Trent starting there next September. So yeah, big news. So we're busy getting ready to send him off to school.
Dude, he was going into grade. What was he going? He was going into grade 8 when I met him, I think.
Yeah. When you first met him, yeah. So that would have been right before you and I started hanging out right before the pandemic. That's when we kind of got gotten around 2019. Yeah. So he was going into grade 8, which was the first year of the pandemic. So he was like grade 7, 8 when you met him.
Holy smokes, these kids grow up so damn fast. Unbelievable.
Dude, it's been so that was that was like 6 years ago, man. 7 years ago now. So yeah. Awesome. Crazy.
As always, Jay, thanks so much for your time, dude. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to spending every Monday with you if we can. But I'd love to see you get out and catch your first fish of 2026, baby.
You'll see it. I'll share it with you for sure. See you guys.
Love to see it. Right on, buddy. Take care. Have a fantastic week, my friend.
You too.
So that ends our show. Thanks to our incredible panel, including Big Jim, of course, Lawrence Gunther, and who you just listened to, Jay Barnucz. It's always a pleasure and an honor to have these lads with us. And of course, it's an honor to have you folks along with us as well in the comments. You really guide the chat. You really guide the program. And to be honest with you, we would love to have you guys and gals have a more hands-on approach to that in the future. So as I said, come back on Monday and be a part of the show. We truly appreciate that. And get out and do some fishing. Because if you do, and you post it on this post, and we're going to be sharing multiple posts with all the partners that we're going to be putting in the prize pack. So Powell Plastics is our first. We have a Shimano prize as well that we're going to be adding to it, as well as many other made in Canada tackle vendors. So it's going to be a cool little prize pack. As I said, we have not determined how long the giveaway or contest is going to run. But at the end of the day, the more, the merrier, and we'd love to see and have you folks a part of it. That's it for our show. We will be back here again next Monday. Have yourselves a fantastic week. Love you all. Have yourselves a prosperous and healthy 2026. We look forward to seeing you at the shows, on the water, and anywhere else in between. Take care. Have a great week. See you next week. Dave, take us away. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.